shorter distance. She went 7/8 of a mile last time at the $7,500 maiden level. Realistically spotted into a 7,500 non-2. That was the first race off a layoff. They bet her down to favoritism. She had come from the fairgrounds, and prior to that, Indiana Grand, where she had run against better without any success whatsoever. Diodoro, Vasquez, I went ahead and took her back. He's good at keeping them going. But I'm with you. I mean, Rhea Sunshine, that was a really hard battle at Oaklawn last time, and she got the win and kind of a head-bobbing finish and ran really well. And
trainer Diodoro's 47%. He's having a phenomenal meeting, and Franco is riding the 6 for Diodoro. It may not have been his choice because I did pick Helena Baby in front of Happy Kira, but if Happy Kira wins this race, I'll be like, well, man, Franco told me which one was maybe doing better at this moment. Yeah. So it's a tough call to make.
I will say Franco rode Happy Kira at Turf Paradise in a maiden win. He was out there that day on Kentucky Derby Day to ride in a couple of stakes, so he picked up some other mounts, including this one for Diodoro, and now he stays on her. But I did note that change in my notes as well. He stays with her, and even though he rode Helena Baby, that mount goes to Vasquez. It'd be interesting to know who did make the call on that.
Right.
Race 3, off the turf, 1 mile on the dirt. Scratch the 2, Coffee Caliente. Scratch the 7, One Time Mark. Scratch the 12, Interstellar. And the 13, Vorpal. Macho Grande, the 14, gets in. And these are $15,000 optional claimers.
Yeah, and I like the 9 on turf, and I still like the 9. City of Angels for Abel Ramirez Rodriguez, another high percentage trainer here in the area. 2 sprints and 2 very decisive wins. And what I think makes that extra important is that this horse was claimed by Present Connections, 3 races ago. So very impressive in 2 starts for this barn. Has proven 2-turn experience, and I just think he may be, too sharp for this group.
2 sprints to a route as well.
Yep.
I always you pointed that out to me, and I always like to see that. And the 2 sprints, one at Oaklawn, one at Lone Star, were tremendous. And like you say, he can run on a wet track if there's still a little moisture in it. He's not, awesome on a dry track, but he can run on turf. He can do anything, really, and he's gotten so good. I couldn't pass him up as he stretches back out to a mile now. Among the others, Macho Grande does pretty well on the dirt. He's coming from way out there. Quarterly Report now has a big, I think, somebody to watch as a stalker closer type. I didn't like him at all on the turf, but on the dirt, Quarterly Report merits consideration. And then
he's another one that's gotten good since the claim. Alex Hartman claimed this horse back in November. He's dominated in 3 of his last 4 dirt races. So Quarterly Report is a very interesting horse shipping in from Oklahoma.
And then now and later, this horse just won by 10 1/4 here back on May 10th. He just exploded late. And finished with tremendous energy. He's just a little, I don't know. He won last time out at a little bit lower level. He's another one to consider because you talk about a horse coming off a hot race. On to race number 4. Race number 4 on today's 12-race extravaganza is the Memorial Day Sprint. It's the first of our stakes races today on Lone Star Million Day. 3/4 of a mile. These are fillies and mares. These are older fillies and mares. Scratch the 6, Practical Dream.
Yeah, and on paper, the 1 and the 3, look like the best horses in here. You got the defending champion, Mystic Lake, for Safi Joseph. Irad Ortiz Jr. in the saddle there. All this mare's done is won 13 of 25 races and 6 out of 8 races at this distance. Exits a really nice second-place finish in a Grade 3 stake. And, again, the fact that she won this race last year is a big thing. I picked Thermal, though, instead. Thermal really had spent much of her career on turf, and, man, what a mistake that turned out to be. John Sadler decides to try the main track, and the Beyer figures have been extremely fast at Santa Anita since the switch to dirt. And his only, race that it wasn't great was a decent fourth-place finish in a Grade 3, and when he was unable to run on Lasix. So back on Lasix today, Luis Saez, to me, a phenomenal rider on the front end. I mean, he's so good at holding horses together. I think Thermal will out-quicken Mystic Lake to the lead, and then it just comes down to that. If they end up dueling for each other, then, we could have a really odd, upset win.
Yeah.
But
Eye Candy or somebody like that could get into it at that point.
Yes.
I looked at these two. I mean, Thermal trains like an absolute beast. There's a million things to like about her. I went with Mystic Lake. I think that we are experimenting downstairs to try to get our picks up on the board. That's why that attention please shows up there. Don't worry about that. And they get a break from looking at us for a while. But I'm going to go 1-3-4-2 in this race. 1-3-4-2. I'm going to take Mystic Lake. She's been a little more, I don't know, she won on this track last year on a sloppy surface in the same race. Now the track probably won't be sloppy today. She's proven on the racetrack. I mean, she does this for a living. She really loves dry main tracks. A couple of races ago, she was up the track in a Grade 1. She just ran second in a Grade 3. Not that Thermal is not high quality. I just think Mystic Lake maybe has a little more big race experience.
Mm-hmm.
I leaned with her. But, horses like Lettuce Legacy. Lettuce Legacy has a lot of speed and is incredibly sharp. Eye Candy may, with the turn back and all, get the trip in here if those higher favored mares run each other into the ground.
Right. So we'll find out. Unfortunately, you got to bet before you find out.
True. So Rick goes 3-1-2-4 in that race, and we're back. And I went 1-3-4-2. Race 5. On to the 5th. 6.5 furlongs. There's one 3-year-old in here. It is the 4, or it was the 4, St. Benji, but she's out, or he's out. This is a non-winners of 3 claiming event for $20,000. No super here. Scratch the 4, St. Benji. Scratch the 7, He's a Striker. That leaves a quintet of older horses.
Yeah, St. Benji was probably going favored, but I'm happy. It's just for probability of winning. Man of Mischief won't be much of a price though. But this horse ran 2 huge races. This was the Zia Park horse I think I was referring to earlier.
Oh yeah,
ran 2 really good races at Zia Park. A maiden special weight, an entry level allowance, very fast times. Kind of rebounded back to top form last time out in a tougher allowance race at Sunland. Dueled for the lead in that particular race. Had a little bit of traffic trouble late. Wasn't going to win, but still beating only 2 lengths. Now drops into a condition claimer with that good early speed. Really high percentage trainer here who's having a terrific meeting. If he can hold that same form at Lone Star Park that he had at Sunland and Zia, he's going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, I mean, he's one that, since he's added both blinkers and Lasix, he's gotten really good. If you go back to 2 years ago, he was a 2-year-old. He was running in New York and Kentucky, and you don't run on Lasix back there as a 2-year-old. But, boy, since he's become 3 and he's had Lasix and blinkers, he's run much better. You mentioned that he seems to love something about Hobbs, New Mexico, and Zia Park. But I think he'll be just fine here in his local debut. West of Me, who he just beat, faced a really good group here a couple weeks ago. He didn't run last, but still, I think that race was pretty decent that he ran in last time. Devil's Mischief, he's over 10 on the turf. He's a dry dirt guy. That's my second pick, Rick's third. You get him off the mud last time and off the turf the 2 times before, and in this abbreviated field, he could compete. On to the 6th. Chamberlain Bridge. 5/8 on turf originally, taken off to the dirt course at 5 furlongs. Scratch the 3 Kavad. He's going to go in the Speightstown later, as is the 7 Stonehenge. They were both entered in both races, so scratch the 3 and the 7.
I think you were a fan of did you like Stonehenge better in this one or the other one?
I liked him better in the other one.
Okay, well then it doesn't really matter.
But I didn't take him in the top 4, but I still liked him in there.
Yeah, I see that. All right, they got the new picks up there.
Yeah.
I like the 1 Surveillance in here. There's so much early speed in here. And, those of you with a track program do notice this is off the turf, so, I got new selections. The 1 Surveillance, terrific record, 10 wins, career buyer figures of triple digits, has made $1.3 million, and, obviously almost all of that has been on dirt. So I wouldn't be surprised if they enter this race seeing the forecast, because he's got a really good chance here at this level. Was claimed 2 starts back, ran a nice race in the Lake Hamilton, and if you look at the form he showed in the fall, those are the races I kind of keyed on to thinking he could win this race. He ran in 3 consecutive stakes races, won one of them. That was at Remington Park. But I like him mainly because there's still a ton of early speed in this field. And even though it's only 5/8 of a mile, I think they're going to back up into Surveillance late in the race. At least that's my hope.
Yeah, I may be guilty. This was a busy morning for us, and I may be guilty of overlooking him a little bit. Surveillance is entered in a later race and scratched to go here. Certainly, he's been a couple of high-priced claims and has done well for everybody that's had him. I stuck with Usually Wrong. He's a guy that's 3 for 4 on dry dirt, 1 for 1 on wet track. He hasn't earned $1 million on the dirt like Surveillance has, but Usually Wrong won this race last year when it was contested on a yielding turf. But he can do just about anything. He can sit a little bit if he needs to and rally. I think he's better on the turf, but I stuck with him. Jackman's Ride's another one. I mean, he could run on any surface. He could run across the parking lot and compete. He's just an old war horse at 9 years of age. Good luck trying to beat him to the lead. But then you got Sawasdi in from Turf Paradise.
Yeah.
Good luck trying to beat him to the lead. I think Usually Wrong has no chance if he gears up into that. But he has proven that he can sit a little bit and rally.
Yeah.
And so I stuck with him, but I think your Surveillance, obviously pay no attention to the morning line in these off-the-turf races because the whole complexion changes. And so I would expect Surveillance to be a
with a scratch of Stonehenge,
price.
there is one less speed horse. And
True.
Oftentimes when there's 2, if one doesn't break alertly, a horse like Jackman's Ride or Sawasdi ends up winning the race because you expected a speed duel, but one doesn't break alertly and you end up not having a speed duel. So, that's what makes gambling, a little more difficult.
The one thing I wish the form had, and they have just about everything, they have the turf record since this was a turf race for Jackman's Ride at this course. But you really have to do your own research to figure out what his dirt record is on this course.
Right.
I don't know how often he's run on the dirt here. On to race 7. This is really wide open. Older horses, optional claimers, scratch the 9, worth looking. That leaves a field of 9 here to go 6 furlongs.
Yeah, and I'm going with another same Abel Ramirez Rodriguez. I think he's once again made a good claim. Claimed this horse for 20. That's the 10. How's your attitude? Runs third. Runs in a tougher spot last time out. Beaten 4 lengths in the mud. If you look at his races at Aqueduct last year, narrowly beaten for 40,000, in for 15 today. Draws a good outside post. I love outside post positions in sprints. Because it gives jockeys just options, If you break well, you can go up there. Otherwise, you can just stalk the leaders. And I think he'll work out a good trip. Christian Torres, a very high percentage rider, does really well with these current connections. So I think I'm going to make him my one to beat.
I really like a horse that's a little bit of an outsider on the line, although maybe not so much anymore with worth looking out. I'm going to take the 2 Braun and Brow. He doesn't draw the more advantageous outside post, but he's a late runner as a sprinter anyway. He looks like the classic horse that needs a drop in the worst way. I mean, he's been running against 62.5 claimers. Last time he was in a 25,000 optional claimer at Hot Springs against horses like Master Mule and Otto the Conqueror. Otto the Conqueror's made $617,000, and we both picked Master Mule in a sprint stake later in the card today.
Yep.
And, you know, he runs pretty much his race every time. It's just he's been in tough. Now he drops a little. Not that this field is a gimme, but I really like Braun and Brow on the drop with Asmussen in that spot.
And Cappellucci's really good off the claim. He claimed stage left. Stage left finished narrowly beaten in the Highland Ice, a sprint stake at Will Rogers. So if Cappellucci, can move this horse up at all, this 10-year-old, then he can win. He's won one of two starts here, so he has shown a fondness for this track.
And that Highland Ice was a good race. That My Saturday got very good in Claremore this spring. On to the 8th. $300,000 Texas Derby, 1 1/16 on the main track. As of when I came down, no changes.
Yeah, the 5 Desert Gate, he's one of the most likely winners of the season.
Yeah.
You'd have to say. I mean, just to give you an idea, the horse I think will run second. I don't know for certain. It's still a maiden, a maximum effort. But Desert Gate ran in couple grade ones on the tough Southern California circuit, Santa Anita, Del Mar, narrowly beaten in 2 grade ones as a 2-year-old. As a 3-year-old, he comes in here after winning the Hot Springs Stakes by 10 lengths, Buyer figure of 97. He gets Lasix for the first time. Bob Baffert's won this race 4 times. You get, Irad Ortiz in the irons. I think he has 5 Eclipse Awards. 4 or 5, I think it's 5-time champion rider in this country. So it's hard to see him not making the lead and then not just drawing off to win this race.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, Irad Ortiz and his brother Jose are both here. We've seen Jose before. I don't know if we've ever seen Irad here, but they'll be in an autograph session at 2 o'clock, free autograph session right inside the east entrance by the Fred Stone mural. So be sure to check that out. Among the others, Maximum Effort, and his dam was a stakes winner at Laurel and an earner of $400,000. He's run very well. I mean, he hasn't broken his maiden, but Oselli hasn't either, and he'd be tough in this field.
Yeah, that 86 Buyer he earned at Oakland in April out of the woods came right back and won an allowance race at Churchill running in the 90s. So it looks like he's going to have to run that type of race to make sure he runs second. I can't see hardly a scenario unless Desert Gate just blows the break. I mean, it's hard to see him not winning the race. But you're not going to make much money betting on him either, just so keep that in mind.
Be fun to watch. I think Chad Allen could be really tough. Comes out of a second in the Bathhouse Row to a Donnie Von Hemel named Krupper, who then went and broke horribly in the Preakness and finished up the track. There was a Chad Allen that went to Duncanville High. He was a very good baseball player who won the batting title in the AAA Pacific Coast League while I was broadcasting the Oklahoma City team. Race 9. Mile on the Dirt, taken off the turf. Non-winners of 2 claimers, Scratch the 5, Kitty Code, the 7, Friday Night Fever, the 9, Old Boys Club. Dettori and Zed both get in.
Yeah, and I picked Dettori in this re-scramble now that it's on the main track. He finished second last time out.
So you're taking Dettori again?
Yes.
Oh, you're braver than I am. I swore off him 2 races ago.
Well, maybe I may owe the public an apology after the race, but we'll see. He finished second last time out to St. Benji, who we both really like today. So that's no disgrace. He was 2 lengths, in front of the third-place finisher. If you look back to what he was doing in the fall, you can see some really huge races. He doesn't always put big races together, but Karen Jacks took this horse over, tried turf the first time, was 1 pace. Then, again, he runs second to St. Benji. I think Karen's, I'd like to think, is getting him figured out because he's run races plenty good enough to dust this field. And unlike Jim, I am giving him one more chance.
I picked him the first time. I'm giving him no more chances. He was like a $680,000 yearling. that they ended up. Carl Moore purchased him at a Horses of Racing Age sale last fall for $200,000, and I don't think that's going to work out. I mean, he could win this race. I think he has a shot as a sprinter. I don't really like him going around 2 turns, but I don't know. I don't want to talk about somebody that I don't like only because we're limited on time. I'm still sticking with, who am I sticking with? Essential Time. I like this horse all along. I respectfully disagree with the short comment that said he had an even finish last time. He didn't pass anybody late, but he did gain ground versus the winner, Sweet Retreat, who was a really good winner on the turf last time. Now he gets off the turf, back to the main track, where his only win did come on the main track. If there is water in the track, which I don't think there'll be, I mean, I think he can handle that. This is a guy that's been Essential Time at one point was considered a real promising stakes 2-year-old. And so I like Essential Time in there. And, you'll be driving up the interstate, and if you get an angry text from me that Dettori beat me, then you can smile as you pass Paul's Valley.
That's true. You can blame Carl Moore if this horse wins because he's the luckiest man at Lone Star.
That's true. He does a great job, too. We just received word, and this will scatter the field. We'll probably more or less skip over the 11th race. But the 11th race, the Ouija board is off the turf. So we are now completely off the turf all day, which is a huge shame. But what can you do? We couldn't see the 8th pole yesterday while it was raining. So Speightstown Sprint, 6 furlongs, race number 10. There's one 3-year-old in here. That is a Scratch Colleague, so it's all older horses. Scratch the 2 Neiman, the 4 Colleague, the 6 Surveillance, the 10 Blue Light, and the 12 Michael W. 6 furlongs, Speightstown Sprint.
Yeah, that old adage, pace makes a race, and I think Master Mule's going to be the beneficiary of a very fast pace. He's another. This is my 3rd pick for this same stable. It's in terrific form. He wins 3 starts back at Oaklawn Park in a starter allowance. Really beat a really nice field that day. Then beating a neck in an allowance race. Last time out in an optional claimer on May 2nd, Derby Day. He's crushed at the windows. And he draws off to win, really convincingly after a slow start. Even with some scratches, the pace is still going to be very fast in here. He's in such good form right now, and with the tactical pace advantage he has, I'm going to take a chance on him in a race that, again, is really competitive.
Yeah, it really is. For All Mankind, the other saddler shipper, he works like an absolute
he does.
Graded stakes horse. Look at those works out at Santa Anita. Now, horses work very fast out there. There's no question about it. And he is a fast horse. I used him second behind the 5. By the way, our graphics are still back on. There we go. Now we're on the right race. I used For All Mankind second, as you did. Crude Velocity, the horse that beat him at Santa Anita last time, went on to win the Pat Day Mile on Derby Day, Grade 2 race. And it was a way back to the 3rd place finisher. He's going to be tough. Stonehenge comes in from Sunland. The 3 races he won at Sunland in succession were hilarious. Very handy wins. One of those races he was bet down to 1 to 10. He was not 1 to 10 at loading, and the caller gets partway into the race and goes, he was bet down to 1 to 10 during the call. And the last time out, he broke like a quarter horse. He had 3 lengths on the field, 3 jumps into the race. Was very handy winner, but I didn't use him, even with the field shortened, because I just don't know if he can run with these. Cavada's the one I don't know what to do with. I used him 4th.
And Booth is capable of some huge races.
Exactly.
When Booth puts it all together, he's phenomenal sprinter.
You win the Whitmore and the Count Fleet at Oaklawn, even though it was last year. You can sprint.
Yeah, you can sprint. I will say one last thing. When you're talking about Crude Velocity on Kentucky Derby Day, he was the star of the show. That Pat Day Mile win was so impressive, and I think Baffert's shooting for the Haskell with him based on what I read, I think, a week ago. So that's actually a strong credentials, finishing second to Crude Velocity.
Yeah. On to the 11th. I don't know how much we should talk about the 11th because, we're a little pressed for time. I mean, we could.
I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know who's a main track horse in here.
I mean, it's the Ouija board. It's off the turf. Scratch the 5 Moonlight Gambler, and who knows who else. Joe Sharps, too. They have only worked on the main track. They've never raced on it. I mean, a couple of them have run on synthetic. That's Miwa and Vive Veuve. Love You Anyway has no dirt form. I mean,
it looks like the 9 and the 10 at a glance are the only dirt horses in here.
Yeah.
Miss Meteor, really big win at Delta, around 2 turns, 13 lengths. And then Multiplication, I think, will go favored in here just off dirt form. 1 by 6 and one of those rating handicaps at Houston. 2 starts back, has also run some good numbers other places. So, but, yeah, there's no reason to talk much about it since we have no idea who's in this race.
Yeah. Quick glance, I would say Fantastical, another Joe Sharp, would probably stay in. I mean, she's a synth beast. Hasn't really done much of anything except on Tapeta. But I don't know. I don't know if he's going to keep her in there. Miss Matois, I would assume, would stay in. I mean,
bottom 2 got to stay in. I can't imagine them not staying in.
So we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Tiz a Whiz might stay in, even though, I mean, she's not Tiz a Whiz on the dirt. She's become, I mean, she does have a muddy track win here last year on the main track. So we'll just have to wait for the scratches to come flooding in for that 11th race. 12th and final. Grade 3, Steve Sexton Mile. Have not heard of any scratches out of this one. It was already a main track mile. Good field. We've got a couple of past winners. Kamore Bino Omoide, who won it last year. Heroic Move, who won it 2 years ago. Diodoro's won this race 3 years in a row. He won it with, I knew I shouldn't have started that sentence. Frosted Grace in 23. But you're going to an old favorite of yours and a horse that, God love him. He's only ventured out of Louisiana 3 times, and it was the last
here.
3 Steve Sexton Miles.
Yeah,
he's trying for a 4th.
Yeah, if you take out his Lone Star races, he's won 21 of 25 races. Isn't that something? That's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
21 out of 25, and he runs triple-digit buyer figures like, I mean,
for breakfast.
It's so easy for him. But here, it's been a different animal. He's finished second twice, though, so I'm not going to say he doesn't like this surface. Right. I know the trainer in the racing form had mentioned last year that track was so sloppy that he didn't think he liked it. But he comes in here fresher than he has in the past, which, again, the trainer said he thinks, he'll have a better chance coming in here fresh because he's so fast. So he's been a win machine. He's made over $2 million. I think this is the year he probably gets it done, but I wouldn't accept price much lower than the morning line because, the fact that he's 0 for 3, albeit with 2 runner-ups. Did you pick Publisher?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Love
just going to.
Publisher.
Yeah, go ahead. You can talk about it, and then I had things to say, but nothing you're probably not going to say.
I just went back and rewatched the Oaklawn Handicap, and, okay, he finished 11 1/4 back, but to the furlong marker or inside of that, he was still running hard. He was working hard, and he's chasing an $8.5 million earner in White Barrio, a horse of the year, and in journalism, a classic winner who's kind of shammed as Sovereignty's Secretariat. I mean, you talk about that field. Number one, that should be a Grade 1 race with that group of horses in it.
It will be next year, I bet.
If it said Grade 1 next to that, it would be even more impressive. And he's so sharp, and he's going so good, and he has a good style for this. And, Kamora Bino Omoide has a lot of speed, but his Bosselman Gus Fauner race was so bad. I mean, he had every opportunity to win that and gave it up to 2 horses I never heard of. One closed inside, one closed outside. Heroic Move won this race 2 years ago. I think he could be sitting on a good one. Diodoro has him training very well. Gigante just ran a huge race over this surface, and Gigante's, almost $1.5 million earner. Touch Upon a Star, you got to love. Safi Joseph sends in Neo Equus. But still, with all that, I think there's a lot of speed in here, so I like Publisher. If you have something else you want to say, though.
No, not about.
Because you do the morning line at Oaklawn, you follow those races closer than I do.
No, you summed it up perfectly on why Publisher has a chance to win this race. But there's a lot of them in here with a ton of talent. We got a lot of Grade 1 winners, Grade 1 placed horses, so the quality's here. The pace will be pretty honest, which could also help Publisher in here and others that don't want the lead, because if Touch Upon a Star gets pace pressure, then, things could be different. But I hope he's due some luck in this race this year.
Yeah. Last year, Kamore Bino Amoide won it coming out of the Boselman Gus Fonner, and he won it from off the pace, but he's typically quick. I looked this up. I didn't remember it. 2 years ago on the Sexton Mile undercard, Kamore Bino Amoide won an allowance race.
Oh, wow.
I did not remember that. I just remember him kind of coming from nowhere last year, coming out of the Boselman and coming here and winning this race. Last year, Touch Upon a Star didn't get the lead right off, and, he found himself sitting just off of it and just, couldn't engage. He's so good on the front end.
I don't know if he runs that great without Lasix, too, because that's the only time here at Lone Star, it's the only times he hasn't been on Lasix.
True.
And, I don't want to believe that's the reason, but it's a possibility.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much for looking in. We're giving away a Ford Escape today. You got to be present to win. Look in the program for information on how to enter it. We've got the jockey session with the Ortiz brothers at 2 o'clock. A lot of great racing. Rick, have a good week.
Yeah, you too. Good luck today.
And thanks a lot for looking in. 27 minutes to post. In the event of an emergency, Lone Star Park is dedicated to ensuring the safety of our patrons. This video illustrates the proper evacuation protocol from all public locations in the Lone Star Park Grandstand facility. Depending on the nature of the emergency, directions may be altered. Please remain calm and follow the direction of Lone Star Park employees and security personnel. Patrons should never use elevators during an evacuation. Suite levels 5 and 6 have 3 stairwells that patrons should use to exit the building. 2 stairwells on either far end of the building and 1 next to the elevators. Look for the nearest exit sign, follow stairwell signage, and exit the building at track level. Silks Dining has 5 stairwells that patrons should use to exit the building. 2 stairwells on either far end of the building that are accessible through either the Jockey Club or Paddock Lounge, and 3 centrally located stairwells near the elevators, escalators, and buffet. Look for the nearest exit sign, follow stairwell signage, and exit the building at track level. Level 2 has 5 stairwells that patrons should use to exit the building. 2 on either far end of the building that are accessible through the Alishiba room and in front of the far west side bathrooms, and 3 centrally located stairwells near the elevators, mustards, and feed sack. Look for the nearest exit sign, follow stairwell signage, and exit the building at track level. The track level has 2 main exits on either side of the grandstand that patrons should use to exit the building. Near the west and east escalators. Follow signage and exit the building. Remember to always exit towards the paddock and never towards the track. If severe weather occurs and shelter in place is issued, all patrons will take shelter on the basement level. The grandstand has 2 stairwells on either far end of the building that extend to all floors.
Calmly head towards whichever end of the building is closest to you. Look for an exit sign and walk down the stairs following all signage and security staff instructions to shelter in the basement level.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Sitting and watching